Thank you very much for your good words, Apostole, and good morning and welcome to everybody. I hope that I will entertain you in a way, and I will scare you a little bit too. Question is, do we have sound in the system? It was supposed to have sound. The first slide. So I'm glad I did not put Cretan music. I will talk about the regional measure, the FuelEU Maritime, which at the present is the hot potato in our shipping industry. The introduction of midterm measures by global and regional bodies like the IMO and the EU presents significant challenges for the shipping industry as they impose very strict regulations and potential financial penalties that could affect the operational viability of the fleets. While aiming to reduce environmental impacts, these measures loom like a Damocles sword over the industry, revealing that the pursuit of sustainability is fraught with hidden costs where not everything that shines is gold. We start with a smile, you see the lady, while later it becomes Medusas. Besides the carbon tax of ETS, the European Union's FuelEU Maritime regulation, effective from January 1st, 2025, aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from ships by promoting renewable and low-carbon fuels in the pathway towards decarbonization. FuelEU Maritime practically augments ETS, although they are different. The exact scope, like ETS, also includes outermost regions and small islands. In recognition of the unique challenges these regions face due to their geographical isolation and reliance on maritime transport, use MRV data and phase-in concept, both of them. FuelEU Maritime penalizes what fuel is burned versus ETS, which penalizes how much you burn. The ISM dock holder is fully responsible. No polluter pays doctrine in FuelEU Maritime. Well-to-wake metrics and compliance flexibilities. Well-to-tank adds about 15% intensity. Biogenic fuels, less than 33 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule. This is the unit of intensity. Gray methanol, ammonia, and hydrogen are much worse than conventional fossil fuels. FuelEU Maritime promotes using renewable and low-carbon fuels and speeds up large-scale production. Of course, the production of this type of fuels are actually very low at this time. It sets greenhouse gas intensity limits, reducing its use progressively as we march in time. FuelEU Maritime mandates the use of an onshore power supply for container ships and passenger ships in EU ports. Part of the Fit for 55 creation includes a renewable directory to cover fuel supply, alternative fuel infrastructure regulation for the fuel infrastructure as well, carbon pricing, via ETS and energy taxation by ETD. So it's a pack of directories. These regulations, midterm measures, or MBM as they are well known, consist of economic measures, or known as levies, carbon tax, and the global fuel standard, which is the technical measure and promulgated by the FuelEU Maritime. It is the toughest one, of course, and the more complex, with a lot of loopholes. The multi-million-dollar question is what should be done if the computed annual intensity, emissions divided by energy consumed, this is the definition of intensity, exceeds the target, the required one for that year. What are we going to do? The available compliance options are depicted in this diagram. The easiest but the costliest is to pay the penalties. Very simple. If the attained intensity is below the target, we have a surplus. The fleet can use the surplus to cover other vessels, provided that we have the same verifier. The surplus can be banked for a stricter future. Alternatively, the ship with a deficit can borrow less than 2% of the non-compliant deficit. We have the 2P and the 2B. 2P, pay and pool, and 2B, borrow and bank. For example, just an example, a vessel burning green methanol can cover 14 vessels burning low sulfur fuel in 2030, down to 5 vessels in 2035, and 2 in 2040. As we go on, things become tougher. Time for a mental quiz. Just think about it, don't say anything. If we double the fuel consumed, the greenhouse gas intensity will not change. This is a particularity of the formulation. So think. You see some measures, and the question is, which one is going to help us with FuelEU? The green arrows will reduce the intensity, but the black arrows will not. An example, energy-saving devices ameliorating the flow to the propeller, reduce the fuel consumption, but they do not change the intensity. 3 points on Circular 905. This is a new, last year's circular that deals with biofuels. Let's not forget that IMO does not have well to tank yet. So they did an assumption, biogenic fuels must be sustainable, as proven by the POS. B, the total intensity must be less than 33 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule. And last, if we have a blend, B10 means 10% biofuel, and it means that the blends, the total emission factor, is computed by weighing by energy, LCV. So here I give you a formula and you can apply this or an Excel. Now, a word of warning with examples. There are 3 different emission factors for 3 different regulations. The most generous is EU ETS, and the worst, unfortunately, is FuelEU Maritime. A loophole for international voyages outside EU, at least one port. You are free to allocate the fuel with the lowest greenhouse gas intensity to the EU part of the trip, which is 50% of the energy. Self-explanatory examples with mixtures of LNG and MDO, as well as biodiesel and MDO. Evidently, your priority is to spend within quotes the biodiesel and the LNG for the EU part. Concluding with a cumulative example, we draw the following important conclusions. Paying the penalty is the costliest option. First and second column, as you can see. LNG and bio-LNG, seventh column, is the least expensive compliance option. So FuelEU Maritime promotes LNG. Depending on the combustion cycle, diesel or auto, fossil LNG assists in the first 10 to 15 years, and banking can extend compliance up to 2045. In the eighth column, waste-based biodiesel is the second best, fourth and to sixth columns. MGO with wind-assisted propulsion is better than without wind-assisted propulsion, fifth and sixth columns. Energy efficiency measures may not help much, first and second columns. Blue ammonia is not the best option. The case with e-methanol, green methanol, is presented here, is deceiving because it does not include revenue from pooling. Pooling is not free. If you go to another company, you have to pay to be part of the pool. Next month at IMO, the fight of the giants for the market-based measures between the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia or South Africa, and EU, will cross their swords and will define the future of shipping for the future. A very critical MEPC. Looking forward to be there. Unfortunately, the proposals, especially those of the EU, are much more stringent than those of the FuelEU Maritime, as depicted in the intensity graphs. Ask me why. And the billion-dollar question. Will the EU withdraw the regional regulations after the IMO establishes its market-based measures? Trumponomics is around the corner. Thank you.